Hey everyone and welcome. So the huge shift to remote work, it's been an absolute game changer, right? It's given us flexibility and freedom we never thought possible. But, and this is a big but, with all that freedom comes a whole new set of challenges that, let's be honest, most companies just aren't talking about. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on a pretty serious hidden risk of this new era. How do you manage substance use when your team is literally all over the map?
Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll unpack the core dilemma of remote work. Then we're going to look at some pretty startling data that points to a hidden epidemic. After that, we'll talk about the massive price tag in both dollars and human lives. We'll clarify the rules around drug testing and then get into how modern tech can solve the absolute logistical nightmare this all creates. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by talking about how to build a genuinely safer workplace for today.
All right, first up, the remote work dilemma. You see, the pandemic didn't just send us home with our laptops. It completely blew up our old definition of what the workplace even is. And this new reality, it's created some really complicated new problems for employers. Now, what's so fascinating about this is how it really shows two sides of the same coin. Look at the right side. These are all the things we love about working from home, right? Autonomy, flexibility, privacy. But those exact same perks create the challenge. More autonomy means, well, less direct supervision. A flexible schedule, that can totally blur the lines between your work life and your home life. And all that extra privacy, it can sometimes hide behaviors that would stick out like a sore thumb back in the office.
And this leads us to the million-dollar question that every single leader of a remote or a hybrid team should be asking themselves. When the lines are this fuzzy, but your duty of care to your employees is still 100% in effect, how do you actually maintain a safe and productive workplace for everybody? It's a tough one, and it perfectly sets the stage for where we're going next.
So let's jump into section 2 and talk about this idea of a hidden epidemic. Because this isn't just some theoretical what-if problem. Oh no. There is some very real data out there suggesting this is a widespread issue, just simmering right below the surface of our daily Zoom calls.
You know, researchers really wanted to know what was actually going on behind all those laptop screens. So a recent US survey peeled back the layers of privacy that come with working from home, and what they found is, to put it lightly, pretty eye-opening for any employer out there.
And this just lays it all out. Get this. According to the survey, 1 in 5 remote workers admitted to using alcohol or other substances while they were on the clock. Even crazier, a full quarter of them, 25%, have been on a video call while under the influence. But here's the one that really gets me. Over a quarter of people said that the benefit of working remotely is being able to use substances during work. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't just a few isolated incidents. We're talking about a significant chunk of the remote workforce.
This data is pretty wild, and it really makes me wonder about your own experiences. Have you noticed any shifts in your team's vibe or their reliability since you went remote? I'd love to hear about it. Drop your observations in the comments below.
Okay, so now we've seen that this behavior is definitely happening. Let's talk about why it matters so much. In section 3, we're diving into the very real, very high-stakes consequences this has on a business. This is where the problem really hits the bottom line. It is so easy to think of this as just one person's problem, but the ripple effects are just massive. It hits productivity, it hits safety, and it absolutely hits the financial health of the whole organization. We are talking about real, measurable costs that can seriously damage a company's stability and growth. Let's just start with this mind-boggling number. US businesses lose an estimated 81 times billion dollars every single year, all due to lost productivity from substance abuse. We're talking about poor decision-making, impaired judgment, slower reaction times, you name it. And that's not even the whole story. If you add in the costs from people just not showing up to work, you can tack on another $25.5 billion. These aren't just numbers on a page. They are a massive drain on the entire economy.
And as huge as those financial costs are, honestly, they pale in comparison to the human cost. This is where the conversation gets really serious. It shifts from profit and loss to life and death. The risk isn't just about poor performance, it's about safety.
And this data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics is just sobering. It shows it in really critical industries: transportation and warehousing, construction, even healthcare. On-the-job overdose fatalities are a tragic and very real problem. These 3 industries alone accounted for almost half of all overdose deaths that happened at work. This just hammers home the point that for so many jobs, especially the safety-sensitive ones, impairment isn't just a productivity issue, it's a fatal liability. So the problem is clear, it's widespread, and it is incredibly costly. What can you actually do about it?
In Section 4, we're going to pivot from the problem to the solution, starting with the basic rules of engagement for drug and alcohol testing in this new world of work.
This is the question we get all the time, and the answer is a simple, straightforward, unequivocal yes. Your right as an employer to maintain a drug-free workplace does not stop at the office door. It doesn't matter where your employee is located, you still have the ability and the responsibility to enforce your policies. And just so you know, testing centers have totally adopted. They stayed open right through the pandemic and have clear protocols for this post-COVID world, making sure testing is always safe and accessible.
Now, the specific rules you need to follow really depend on your industry. If you're a DOT-regulated employer, we're talking trucking, aviation, public transit, your path is laid out for you. You must follow the strict federal guidelines, especially for things like post-accident testing. No wiggle room there. For everyone else, the non-regulated employers, you've got a bit more flexibility. You can and really should follow the best practice recommendations from SAMHSA. That lets you build a testing policy that fits your company's specific needs, whether that's for pre-employment, reasonable suspicion, or post-accident.
Okay, knowing you can test is one thing, but actually doing it when your team is scattered everywhere, that is a whole other beast. Let's move to Section 5, where we tackle that practical, logistical nightmare and how modern technology is really the only way to solve it.
Let's just walk through the old-school, super stressful scenario, a post-accident test. An incident happens with one of your drivers, the clock immediately starts ticking, especially if you're trying to stay DOT compliant. The old way is just a frantic scramble, right? You're making late-night calls, desperately trying to find a mobile collector. Your employee might have to leave the scene of the accident to drive themselves to a clinic. You're stuck waiting for hours, losing critical time, and potentially putting your compliance and your company at risk. It's just inefficient, it's stressful, and it is full of liability.
But come on, we live in an on-demand world. We can get food, a car, pretty much anything we want with a tap on our phone. So why should a critical safety procedure be stuck in the dark ages? There is absolutely a better way. And it's powered by technology that was built specifically for this problem. A solution like the Ready Collect app completely changes the entire game. So, how does this modern approach fix all that chaos? Well, instead of that late-night panic, you use the app to instantly request an on-site test. It dispatches a collector directly to your employee's location. This means you get an incredibly fast response, which is absolutely crucial for hitting those tight DOT post-accident timelines. And maybe best of all, your employee never has to leave the scene of the accident, which keeps the whole process professional, contained, and compliant from the word go.
And you know, it's not just about being fast, it's about being in control and having peace of mind. You get real-time status reports and notifications for every single step of the process. You can actually see detailed geofence tracking of everything from the initial request all the way to the collection. The whole system is built from the ground up to make DOT compliance simpler and more reliable, which in the end helps boost your company's overall safety score. It's really about replacing all that uncertainty with clear, documented proof that you did everything right.
Okay, this brings us to our final section, pulling all of this together to talk about how we can build a truly safer workplace, no matter where our employees happen to be logging in from.
Here's the bottom line from our whole discussion today. The way we work has fundamentally changed, and it's not going back. You simply cannot manage a modern, distributed workforce with outdated policies and old-school analog tools. Protecting your team and your business in this new era means updating not just what your safety policy says, but also embracing the technology that lets you actually enforce it effectively, efficiently, and with total confidence.
So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. Take a good hard look at your current safety procedures. Are they built for the office of the past, or are they truly ready for the future of work? Answering that question honestly could be the single most important step you take to protect your team this year. If you are inspired by this video, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ready Collect. Feel free to share this video as well. Thank you.